Recently my partner gave me a new 3DS XL. It's almost complete in box, and it has a rather nice Animal Crossing theme. The only problem is that the C-Stick, which is the smaller second joystick on the console, seems to be defective. Sometimes it'll work fine, but other times it'll completely refuse to move right for some reason. Oddly enough though, when I went to capture this footage, it didn't seem to happen. But trust me, it happens and it's extremely annoying. So in today's video, I'm going to be doing a popular mod for the new 3DS XL and new 3DS, replacing the C-Stick with a PSP-1000 analog stick, and we're going to be doing that right now on the Linux Lounge. So first, for this mod, I bought some PSP-1000 analog sticks on eBay. Thankfully, they were only £2 for 2 of them, and they arrived at my door within a few days, which I find to be pretty brilliant considering the amount of money I paid for them. The first step of this mod was to start disassembling my new 3DS XL in order to access the C-Stick. Although it's possible to do this mod without disassembling the console, it does require cutting and permanently breaking the C-Stick, which I didn't want to do. So the first step was to remove the 2 screws on the back of the console. This gave me access to the replaceable battery and SD card, which I do just have to quickly say, I love how easily accessible these are. The next step was to remove the battery, SD card, and for good measure, the stylus. The next step was to remove all of the 4 screws around the edge of the console. I had to be careful as these screws are extremely small and easy to lose. Next, I had to remove the 2 rubber feet on the bottom of the console. Weirdly enough, these had gotten really gross over time and I would love to replace them at some point if possible. Once those were gone, I could access the hidden screws which I needed to remove in order to continue disassembling the console. From there, I was able to remove the bottom of the new 3DS XL console, but I had to be careful as there were 2 ribbon cables that were still attached to the bottom piece I'd just removed. Once I'd removed these, I could easily remove the bottom of the system. From here, I could see the C-Stick component that I had to remove. But first, I had to unscrew the 3 screws keeping it in place. From there, I could pull up the C-Stick and remove the rubber knob that the player interacts with. After that, it was time to reassemble the console, which means following all of these steps in reverse. The only difficulty I encountered in doing this is the ribbon cables, which were somewhat difficult to get back into place. Once I had the new 3DS XL console back together, it was time to install the PSP-1000 analog stick. This was actually pretty simple to do. All I had to do was slot it into the place where the original C-Stick had been. Now, this did take a little bit of messing around and trial and error to get right, so if your analog stick doesn't work quite right or feel quite right at first, it might be worth having a mess around with it a little more, as it does take some trial and error to get it in correctly. But trust me, you'll know when it's in correctly. Once my PSP analog stick was inserted correctly, it was time to try it out. Navigating around the system menu seemed to work great, but it wasn't until I launched a game that I saw exactly how well this PSP analog stick worked. Using the PSP analog stick was far more comfortable, precise, and natural than using the original rubber C-Stick. It's obviously no replacement for a true joystick like on the Vita or something, but I was able to happily play some first-person shooters with this thing without any issue. The problem is that it doesn't really work like the original PSP's analog stick did, which means that, for me, it's a little bit weird to use as I did used to own a PSP, but other than that, I think this mod is absolutely amazing, and if you have a new 3DS, I definitely recommend doing this if you don't like the original C-Stick, or if your original C-Stick is broken. But with that said, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.